We all look for different things in a car. Some look for good interior space, some look for excellent fuel economy. Now for the discerning few who are looking for good driving dynamics in a small and relatively affordable package, according to my peers, this is one of your better options. This is the Mazda 2. Is it worth your money? Let's find out. What makes a fun driver's car? Now, speed and power are definitely factors in the equation, but not the only ones. If there's one thing that Mazda taught us with their MX-5, it's that a car can be fun even though it doesn't have a lot of power. The Mazda 2 is not a quick car, but some say that it's the most fun subcompact hatchback in its price bracket. We will get to the bottom of that later. For now, let's do a walk around. The Mazda 2 has been around for a while now. It was launched in 2014 and it was facelifted in 2019. There's also a 2023 facelift which hasn't been launched yet. Now, despite not being the newest hatchback in its segment, I think it's one of the better looking ones. I've been a fan of Mazda's Kodo design since I first saw it on the CX-5, and I think it gives the Mazda 2 a good balance of aggression and elegance. It looks very similar to its bigger and more expensive brothers. Now here at the front you get these projector LED headlamps with these mean-looking circular halos. And I love this about Mazdas, the prominent brow ridge, which gives the car a more menacing look. Down here you get this aggressive-looking chin for a more sporty look. Now you get 9 color options for the Mazda 2. This is one of the more recent options. This is called Platinum Quartz, and I think it looks really good on the Mazda 2. The Mazda 2 is a small car. It's not quite as small as the Brio, but it's significantly shorter and narrower than the Honda City hatchback. Now here are the dimensions for your reference. So here on the side, the Mazda 2 looks a bit more streamlined than a lot of its competitors. It gets this relatively low and long hood line. You get a wedge-shaped nose. You have this somewhat teardrop shape on the roofline. And you have this upswept window line over here. You have these subtle lines on the side which break up the roundish shape of the car. It comes with 16-inch wheels finished in gloss black. I think they're a good size for the car. The tires though are a bit narrow at 195 millimeters. You get disc brakes at the front and at the back. Now as for the suspension, you get McPherson's at the front, and at the back you get a solid beam. These side mirrors are power folding. You get a smart locking system. To lock or unlock the vehicle, you can just press this button over here. Or you can just leave the car and it automatically locks itself. There you go. From the back, you can clearly see its skinny tires, thanks to its almost non-existent rear overhang. Not my favorite aspect about the car, but I guess it helps with the fuel economy. It kind of looks cute with its roundish shape and its little exhaust tip sticking out. Until you see the angry-looking halogen taillights, which look like they're staring at you with ill intentions. It gets rear parking sensors over here. You got a rear wiper. So the car comes with a manual liftgate. Space here at the back is quite adequate for a car of this size. You have this false flooring over here, and underneath you have your full-sized spare tire. This though is pretty flimsy, so you have to be careful when loading heavier items here. If you need more space, you can fold the second row seats. You also get this removable tonneau cover over here. So underneath the hood of the Mazda 2 is a 1.5-liter, 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated engine. So the power figures are not very impressive on paper. It only has 108 horsepower and 141 Newton meters of torque. But this is also a very small and very lightweight car. I guess we'll find out later if the car's handling compensates for the lack of horsepower. Mazda didn't sacrifice too much interior quality to bring the price down to this level. This still looks and feels like a Mazda interior. On the dashboard, you got this leather wrapped accent over here. These are also leather wrapped. You got a leather wrapped steering wheel. The seats are partly covered in leather. And you get this Alcantara-like black insert. And the bolstering is also quite good. You have this faux carbon fiber finish over here and also over here. Now in terms of ergonomics, everything here is well laid out. I like the layout of the buttons over here. Like a lot of Mazdas, these buttons over here correspond to your 5 fingers. So you can operate this without having to look down so much. And listen to how crisp that sounds. It gets this small 7-inch screen. It has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It also has a reverse camera. Now, it may be small, but at this price, I think that's forgivable. And I think it actually looks better than the infotainment screens of a lot of its Japanese competitors, which tend to look like CRT TVs. It's relatively thin, and you don't have a lot of bezel around it. You get single zone climate control, and you get physical knobs for adjusting the fan speed and also the temperature. Down here, you get 2 USB ports and one 12-volt outlet. You also get a wireless phone charger over here. You get a manual handbrake that's covered in leather. You get paddle shifters. The instrument cluster is partly analog and partly digital. You get an analog tachometer right at the center. And the standout feature of the Mazda 2, I think, is this head-up display over there. So that displays information like your speed right along your line of sight, so you don't have to look down so much to check your instruments. Yeah, so everything feels very intuitive. I can operate this without having to look at my controls. Now the thing is, Mazda still does not allow you to use the touchscreen when you're driving. So you have to park the car if you want to navigate through Waze, which can be a bother for a lot of people. But Mazda says that that's for safety reasons. You get a push start button. Now this comes with ADAS features like blind spot warning, lane departure warning, driver attention alert. This also has a feature called Smart City Brake Support. I'm not sure if that's the same as automatic emergency braking. Now in terms of storage, you have a pretty sizable glove box over here. You get 2 cup holders. Now unfortunately, you don't get a center armrest over here, which is the case for a lot of smaller cars. Now I get it, it's a very narrow car, and if you have 2 large people here at the front, the armrest can get in the way. But I would have appreciated even just a very narrow armrest over here, so I can have somewhere to put my elbow. Now in terms of space, I have pretty good headroom over here. Like I said, it's a narrow car, so you'll be quite cozy with your driver or your co-passenger. Overall, it's a very nice interior for the price, at least for a Japanese car. Okay, so space here at the back is okay for a person of my size. I'm 5'8". Knee room is just okay. I have about 2 inches. Headroom is decent. I have about 1 inch. My head though is pretty close to this part of the roof. So if I fall asleep, I can imagine myself hitting this a couple of times, but good thing it's quite soft. Now you don't get a lot of toys here. You don't get air vents. You don't even get a center armrest. So here in the city, the Mazda 2 does not feel like a low budget car. NVH levels are good. The ride quality is pretty good. You feel well insulated from outside noise. Steering is nicely weighted, and it really helps that it's covered in this very nice leather. This is the part of the car that you touch the most, so it's important that it feels nice. You also get plenty of driver aids like blind spot warning, which really comes in handy here in Commonwealth Avenue when you have to merge with traffic. You also have lane departure warning. You don't get adaptive cruise control, although at this price bracket that's really expected. Despite its small size, the car feels stable on the highway. You don't feel like you're gonna topple over when you're quickly changing lanes, and you don't feel like you're gonna get blown away when a huge truck passes by you. You can hear a lot more road and wind noise at highway speeds, which is normal for this segment. NVH levels are still significantly better than small hatches like the Brio, but not quite as good as sedans in the same price bracket. The 1.5-liter engine doesn't particularly put out impressive numbers, so don't expect the car to feel as peppy at higher speeds. It's not slow, but it's not quick either, especially when you have to overtake at 90 kph or higher. That's not really what makes the car fun to drive though. To appreciate what makes the car feel special, we'll have to take it somewhere more twisty. They say it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. And in some ways, I agree. I have driven much more powerful cars here, and you have to rein the car back so much that it sometimes gets frustrating. Now that is not the case with the Mazda 2. It only has 100 plus horses, but you get to use most of those horses. While it's not a fast car, it does give you a good sensation of speed. Part of the reason for that is its high-revving 1.5-liter naturally aspirated engine. In sport mode, it's very responsive to throttle input. The power is linear, it's predictable, and it rewards you at the top end as the peak power comes in at 6,000 RPM. I think it also sounds pretty good. I mean, listen to this. One more reason why the car feels more engaging to drive is the transmission. I know the bar is not very high in this class, but the transmission of the Mazda 2 is the best in its class. I commend Mazda for not going the CVT route on their vehicles, unlike most of their Japanese peers. The 6-speed transmission makes driving the car a more engaging experience. Shifting is quick, the gear ratios are relatively short, you get none of that rubber band effect that you get on CVTs, and the paddle shifters allow you to manually shift gears without taking your hand off the wheel. The steering of the car gives you good feedback so you can feel what your front tires are doing. Like most modern Mazdas, the Mazda 2 has G vectoring control, which reduces the torque for a brief moment while you're entering a turn. The result is that the weight is shifted forward towards the front tires, which improves turn-in performance. Now, not only is it useful when you're carving mountain roads, but also when you suddenly have to avoid an obstacle. I went into this review thinking that its main and probably only selling point is its driving performance. But I quickly realized that it also had another selling point. Its fuel economy. In the city, even with traffic, I was getting 11.5 kpl. In light 9 to 10 p.m. traffic, I was getting up to 17 kpl. The car also has a 44-liter fuel tank, which is quite big for its size. That, plus the car's excellent fuel economy, and you get plenty of range out of each full tank. The fuel economy of the Mazda 2 in the city is good, and on the highway it is actually ridiculously good. I'm currently getting 26.2 kpl. Although I'm driving the car like a granny, as you can see, I'm trying to stay under 80 kph. But 26.2, that's better than the fuel economy that I got on the Nissan Kicks, which is a hybrid. The Mazda 2 currently only has one variant in the Philippines, and it sells for 1.2 million pesos. At that price, it is significantly more expensive than most hatchbacks that are of a similar size. The Honda City hatchback would be the closest to it in terms of price. Now, while the Honda City is more spacious and offers more amenities for the rear passengers, the Mazda 2 offers more active safety features, a more premium interior, arguably better looks, and I take this 6-speed auto over any CVT any day. Honestly, I wasn't expecting much from the Mazda 2. I said in the intro, according to my peers, because I wasn't expecting to agree with them. But after driving the car on the twisties, I get it now. Mazda's attention to quality and their pursuit for that elusive driver and car connection is in the car's DNA, as it is on almost all of their vehicles. Now, people look for different things in a vehicle, and the Mazda 2 isn't gonna please everyone. But for those who are looking for an engaging driving experience wrapped up in a small and fuel-efficient package, I would agree with my peers. This is one of your better options, if not the best.